there's two things that can happen when we experience a tough or a difficult or a challenging setback and moment, right? Most of us will either, kind of like my old coping mechanism when I was going through my losses, I would shove it under a rug. I would continue to achieve and get more accolades because that's what I knew would help me, right? And then also there was a time where I was just on this like doing trajectory that I didn't get to even feel. And so for so many of you who are listening that are like, yep, I do not like to feel my emotions. I'm just going to keep on with it, go with it. And it's probably because of how you were raised, right? And so there's a concept that I call the bounce factor, a concept that, I kind of talk about in the book, where it's a level that really addresses your resiliency, your ability to bounce back during and after tough times. And there are 4 parts to it. And so the first part is really understanding, well, what was your upbringing like? Were you allowed to yell out at the table? Most of us from immigrant backgrounds, we were not able to raise our voices, even let alone speak or talk back to our family members or, speak out of turn. Or maybe if you were a female in your family, how were females viewed in your family? Was it meant that, women weren't allowed to speak up or do what they wanted, or there was a certain obligation or expectation that was set for women in your household? So it's making peace with, number one, your upbringing, right? Because a lot of times there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of emotion, there can be a lot of charge with that piece of your upbringing. And the next stage of that is really understanding what's your current environment? What are you actually exposed to? What are you exposing yourself to? Are you exposing yourself to good stress? Meaning that, okay, if something didn't happen in your business, let's say, for all of the coaches in the room, building your business, that's a huge thing. But you know that when you're starting your coaching practice, you are going to have to put yourself out there. You are going to have to, share certain vulnerable things about you, especially if you are wanting to connect and relate back to your clients, right? Some of you might already be triggered just me saying that. Oh my gosh, I'm really going to have to put myself out there. I'm going to have to go and face rejection, people not wanting to work with me. That's a thing. Well, how are you going to increase the amount of good stress, meaning putting yourself out there, challenging yourself so that you can increase your level of your bounce factor? So that when you do get rejection, you're not going to go cry in a corner. When you do face rejection, you're not going to say, oh, I'm not meant for this. I should just throw in the towel right now. It's not for me. What you will then say is, ooh, what does that say about me? Okay, which brings me to part number 3, which is your emotional capacity. How willing are you to, when we talk about sitting in the suck or embracing the suck, right? Instead of bury it or, distract yourself or numb yourself when things don't go your way, how often are you able to stretch and expand into the discomfort? Offer your services, even though you might get a flat out no, even though well, you might not be good at that yet. Even though you may not have developed enough confidence to go on stage or to present somewhere or to share your gifts in a room of people that you don't know, that's really expanding your emotional capacity, your capacity to really feel both sides of the emotions, the duality, which is why it's like embracing the chaos and the joy, embracing the joy and the grief, embracing the fun and the hard work all at the same time, because they all exist. And that's what I'm so excited about with this book. And the last part of your bounce factor is your awareness. And most often we don't check in with ourselves, our internal meter, to see, am I actually feeling okay? How is my nervous system today? Am I around people that decrease my window of tolerance because they're talking about gossip, or they're talking about, things that don't necessarily matter, or they're not talking about the topics that I really like? Or or whatever the case is, right? But the awareness that you have within yourself that you can check in and say, okay, I need to leave right now. I need to leave this party right now because it's not for me. I need to leave right now because I'm actually going to honor myself and head to bed early. I'm going to actually turn off the TV right now because I know I want to wake up at 5 a.m. and do my morning practice. So this level of self-awareness, which we all know, we all talk about, but I mean, really, are we really practicing it? And are we really paying attention, in tune with, not just how we feel or what we think of or the thoughts that are going in our head, but even in our body? Like what's actually even going on in our body, right? Are you feeling that, pain in your right hip when you're sitting down? Are you actually noticing the things that are no longer in alignment with you? The things that perhaps maybe you haven't integrated yet. Maybe the triggers and the wounds that come up because somebody says something and you're like, hey, okay, why did they say that? But in actuality, that's maybe just your own projections of wounds that you've been keeping inside because you haven't dealt with that.